Hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey. Danse, Fawn Wood isigasoyan, honichikskopone kute. Hello everybody, my name is Fawn Wood. I am a Plains Cree Salish singer, performing and recording artist based out of Saddle Lake, Alberta. I've been fortunate to come from a really musical family, a traditional musical family. And I remember growing up and hearing cassette recordings of different singers from all over. And I was so inspired by it. I was so inspired by the music that, Indigenous people from all over Indian country and Turtle Island were sharing, and that's something that I wanted to do. Having both my parents sing around a big powwow drum, that's kind of where it started for me. It also started at home with our own ceremonies and, sweat lodges and the gatherings and celebrations that my parents took us to. We listened to all kinds of music. We've listened to Native American church music. We've had recordings of Coast Salish music and stick game music. And I remember actually the very first time that I was really inspired and knew that music was something I wanted to do was my dad and his brothers made their very first recording with Canyon Records, which was who I started my journey with. And I remember we were in Tulalip, Washington, and they were recording at a school while a powwow was going on, but they were doing a stick game recording. And I remember none of us kids were allowed to go in there, but I remember looking in from the outside. I found what room they were in, and I remember peeking in, and I remember seeing the mics and everything set up. And I knew that one day that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to create music. I wanted to make something that people felt my intentions and heard my voice and story from. So I think that was a big moment for me, knowing that that's what I wanted to do. Some of the challenges that I've had, mostly in the beginning of my journey in music, was, for instance, when I grew up, you didn't see too many females sing the way I sang. You didn't have too many people getting recognized for that either. Also, just being a woman in music too, sometimes that's challenging, but being an Indigenous woman in music makes it that much more challenging. But I think being able to persevere through that, and I think one thing that really motivated me to keep going and really want to pursue this and really want to take it as far as I can go was seeing how much it inspired the younger generation, not even just the younger generation, but I've been fortunate to travel all over. And when I travel, it's not even just the young ladies who approach me. I have elder ladies and ladies that are old enough to be my mother or my auntie telling me, that it's inspired them and they get something from that. A lot of it too was just being able to, I think like anything, it doesn't always come easy. And when we were faced with those tougher times, being able to persevere and push through that and continue to love what we do and feel inspired and really want to pass a message with your music. Little one, close your eyes. Mommy will stay here by your side. Say, it doesn't matter what kind of music you listen to or what kind of taste you have. Even for those who want to find their voice, never compare yourself to anybody. We each and every one of us have our own voice. We have our own power behind our voice. And I think it's really important that if it makes you feel good, pursue it and take it and run with it. There's no right or wrong way to connecting with music, whether you want to be a singer, a composer, whether you want to get into the more technical stuff. It's whatever you enjoy doing. Do it with passion and do it with everything you've got. And I always go back to do it from a good place, because that has a huge part in what you're creating, especially if you want to share it with the world. You know, I've never realized the impact that my own music would have on people until I started traveling. I used to think that that was something I shared just amongst my friends and my family at home. And when YouTube came out and, these different social media platforms, having a video on there that was taken of me from maybe my second hand drum contest that I won at the Gathering of Nations powwow. And I was actually the very first woman to ever win that contest. And that was actually put up, but seeing how it inspired other people to want to find their voice, how it made people feel to hear, singing and our traditional music, that really had a huge impact on me, because I realized that music wasn't just something that we were creating to sound nice. Music had that power to carry a message, to inspire people, to empower people. It goes along with a saying that I was taught from a really young age, and it didn't matter what we created or what we chose to do, that we do it with good intentions and from a good place in our heart, because ultimately that's what people are going to feel from our music, from our creation, from the way we carry ourselves, if I always tell youth that whenever I get to work with them, is no matter what they're passionate about, make sure that they do it from a good place and have good intentions, because that's what people are going to feel from that. The song Remember Me, it was actually given to me by my Uncle Randy, and it was something that he had for a long time. And when he originally created it, it was to be in memory of my Uncle Stoney. He ended up giving that song to me, and it was always a really big goal of mine to be able to create something with him one day, because he was such a huge role model, and he made a huge impact in my life and my musical journey from a really young age. In fact, that's how I started singing, was listening to his albums, and that's kind of how I found my voice. So when I had that chance to record something with him, I knew that I remember before I actually recorded the track. In my tracks, I said a little prayer, and I was like, I waited a long time for this. I just want it to come out right. I want people to feel something special in this. I remember in the middle of the pandemic, there was a huge movement going on with bringing awareness to the MMIW, Two-Spirit, and MMIP tragedy, and I was totally blown away, because I seen people creating these really powerful videos with my song as their sound. Just being able to witness it bridge these gaps between our communities and the outside world, and bringing attention to this tragedy. And I think a lot of people, that was the first time that they've kind of seen that this is a reality that our people live in. This is something that's happening every day. And, I think the powerful thing about that is that I can honestly say each and every single one of our communities have been touched by that in one way or another. Being an Indigenous woman myself, and even having a daughter myself, or having two sons, this is a world that we want to change for the better. This is something that we want to see improve for our generations to come. And I think that all starts with bringing awareness and acknowledging that. That way we can help do up our part in trying to fix that, trying to balance that out. I don't think a lot of people realize that not even just as communities, but our Indigenous people as individuals, we all either know somebody whose family that happened to, or we are a part of a family who's lost somebody in that way. And I think being able to have a song that plays a part in that movement, I feel totally privileged and humbled, and it really is an honor. Remember me when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me down the road, hand in hand, you and me. I think, becoming a mother played a huge part in my life, and not just even my musical journey, but just my life in general. It totally changed my worldly perspective on the life and the road I walked. My son, Alex, he's 12, he's just about 13. He inspired a really beautiful song that we call Mommy's Little Guy. And when I became a parent, I know that I really wanted to instill all the good that I had to give, and even the good that I didn't necessarily have. You always want better for your children. You always want to give them those tools and values and intentions that they could utilize to be good people. Being a daughter of 2 residential school survivors, I know that was a cycle that my parents tried really hard to break, was all of the negative things that they picked up from going to schools like that. And they really wanted to instill our culture in me and my siblings. They really wanted to instill that pride and that empowerment of being Indigenous people in us. And that's something that I wanted for my sons and my daughter, was, to walk in this world and on this earth gracefully, and to be proud of who they are and where they come from, and do good for themselves and do good for each other and everybody around us in our community. I think starting that journey has been really important, but I think that there is a long road ahead still. I think being able to have these first steps started, that's been kind of a staple in getting what needs to be done. I know healing has a huge part of it, because I don't think a lot of people realize that we're only 1 or 2 generations. All the Indigenous people you see today in our country, we're either only 1 or 2 generations away from being in residential school, like myself, for instance. And it still feels like some of the wounds from that time are still really fresh. But I know that, with everybody's collective thought towards it and effort, that it can be something really positive. It can be something really good, and the steps that need to be taken to really reconcile with our past like that. Once we get there, it'll be good for not just our Indigenous communities, but our whole country as a whole, as a people. We can finally mend that, move forward.